You thought the war between Trump and the 17 Republican senators was bad? Well, it just got infinitely worse. In the last 24 hours, Donald Trump lost $80 million. $80 million in a single day. 3 Republican billionaires cut all financial support. Dozens of major donors froze contributions. And the super PAC Trump created specifically to destroy the 17 senators is bleeding money faster than it can raise it. Subscribe to the channel now and turn on notifications, because what's coming in the next few hours could determine whether Trump still has real power in the Republican Party or if he's become a paper tiger with no teeth. Let's get right to it, because this story is evolving every minute. Let me catch you up on what happened before this. A week ago, 17 Republican senators, led by Mitch McConnell, signed a public letter saying they could no longer support certain Trump actions. The letter mentioned demands for emergency powers, rhetoric about Greenland, and threats against members of his own party. Trump exploded. He published a list with the 17 names, donation amounts they received, and personalized attack lines. Called them all pathetic traitors. Announced he'd primary every single one of them. Created a super PAC with a goal to raise $100 million to fund these campaigns. And promised to donate $10 million from his own pocket to start. War was declared. The 17 responded by activating their defense plan. McConnell committed $50 million from the Republican Senatorial Committee. Lindsey Graham gave an interview saying he had no regrets. Marco Rubio posted on Twitter defending Senate independence. And Mitt Romney wrote a Washington Post article explaining why he stood up against Trump. Everything seemed headed for a long, bloody battle. But yesterday morning, something changed, and it changed fast. At 8:32 a.m. yesterday, the Wall Street Journal published a bombshell report with the headline, "Major Republican donors free support for Trump after attack on senators." The report cited 3 anonymous sources close to major party donors and detailed conversations that happened behind the scenes over the weekend. What these conversations revealed was devastating for Trump, because while he thought the MAGA base would financially sustain the war against the 17, the party's financial elite was making the opposite decision. They were cutting Trump completely. The report specifically mentioned 3 billionaires. Names weren't disclosed for legal reasons, but descriptions were clear. Billionaire A, tech mogul, donated $15 million to Republican campaigns in 2024. Major Trump supporter. Decision: froze all future donations until internal war ends. Billionaire B, finance sector businessman, donated $22 million in 2024, funded pro-Trump super PACs. Decision: redirected $30 million planned for the party generally, specifically avoiding Trump-linked campaigns. Billionaire C, media conglomerate owner, donated $18 million in 2024, one of Trump's biggest individual supporters. Decision: completely cut support and signaled he might fund the 17 senators if necessary. Just these 3 represent $55 million that Trump counted on having and that evaporated overnight. But it didn't stop there, because when 3 billionaires make a public decision like this, others follow. It's herd effect. If the big fish leave the water, the smaller fish leave too. And that's exactly what happened. Between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. yesterday, at least 40 additional 6- and 7-figure donors announced suspension of contributions. Some made public statements. Others simply stopped answering calls from Trump's fundraising team. The net result was catastrophic. Campaign sources estimate Trump lost access to at least $80 million that was practically guaranteed for 2026. Money that was already being counted. Campaigns that were already being planned. Ads that were already being designed. Everything frozen, everything stopped, everything lost. And here's the most important detail. Why did these donors do this? The answer isn't simple. It's not that they suddenly turned anti-Trump. It's not that they agree with the 17 senators on policy. It's something more pragmatic and colder. It's business calculation. Let me explain their logic, because it's crucial to understanding what comes next. These billionaires donate to the Republican Party for specific reasons. They want tax cuts. They want less regulation. They want conservative judges. They want business-friendly policies. And to get these things, they need Republicans to win elections. Not just the presidency, but also Senate, House, governorships, victories at all levels. Now, when Trump declares war on 17 incumbent Republican senators, when he threatens to primary all of them, when he forces the party into public civil war, it puts all victories at risk. Why? Because primaries divide the party, they spend money, they create resentment, and they frequently result in extremist candidates who win primaries but lose general elections. The donors saw this happen in 2022. Trump backed several MAGA candidates in primaries. They won primaries but lost general elections to Democrats because they were too extreme for moderate voters. The result was, Republicans lost the Senate when they should have won easily. The billionaires lost millions in donations that generated no victories. And now Trump's doing the same thing again. Only this time, it's worse, because he's not just backing candidates in swing states. He's trying to take down 17 incumbents in states where Republicans already win. That means spending tens of millions on internal fights instead of focusing on defeating Democrats. It means dividing the party into factions that may never reconcile. And it means risking losing the Senate completely if MAGA candidates win primaries but lose general elections. For the party's financial elite, this is madness. It's throwing money away. It's guaranteeing defeat through stubbornness. So they made a collective decision. We're not funding this. If Trump wants this war, he pays out of his own pocket. But there's another factor few are discussing. It's about access. Billionaires don't just donate to win elections. They donate to have access. Access to senators, access to congressmen, access to people who write laws and confirm nominees. And the 17 senators Trump is attacking are exactly the people these donors need. Mitch McConnell is the most powerful Republican leader in the Senate. Lindsey Graham chairs the Judiciary Committee. Marco Rubio is Secretary of State. Susan Collins is the deciding vote on dozens of issues. Mitt Romney has credibility with moderates. These aren't irrelevant senators. They're key pieces of the Republican legislative machine. If Trump destroys them, who's left? MAGA candidates with no experience, no relationships, no ability to negotiate. That doesn't serve the billionaires. They need people who know how Washington works, people who can pass laws, people who can block regulations. So when Trump forced a choice between him and the 17, the billionaires chose the 17. Simple as that. Now let's talk about Trump's reaction, because when he found out he'd lost $80 million in 24 hours, the response was predictable. Total explosion. Last night at 9:47 p.m., Trump started posting on Truth Social, and he didn't stop for 2 hours. 34 posts in a row, all in caps, all attacking donors, senators, and media. I'll give you the highlights because they show exactly his mental state right now. Post 1. Trader billionaires who cut support are part of the deep state. They never really supported me, just wanted access. Now reveal true character. Post 5. Don't need their money. Have the American people. Small donations more powerful than corrupt billionaires. Post 2. Wall Street always against me. Now funding the 17 traders. Proves I'm right. They fear a president who can't be bought. Post 8. McConnell and Rhino sold souls for dirty money. I represent workers. They represent globalist elite. Post 27. Raised $8 million in small donations yesterday. That's more powerful than any billionaire. MAGA movement can't be stopped. Post 34. Next few days will show who has real power. Not billionaires, not trader senators, the people. And the people are with me. You see the pattern? Trump's trying to transform financial loss into moral victory. He's saying he doesn't need billionaires because he has the people. He's painting donors as corrupt enemies. And he's doubling down on the narrative that he represents workers against the elite. But here's the problem with this strategy. Modern politics costs money. A lot of money. Small donations are great for headlines. They are great for showing engaged base. But they don't pay for 17 simultaneous primary campaigns in different states. They don't pay for TV ads that cost millions. They don't pay for campaign teams, polling, data, logistics. To do what Trump promised, defeat the 17 senators in primaries, he needs at least $150 million, maybe more. And he just lost half of that in one day. The super PAC he created, America First Always, had raised $8.2 million until the day before yesterday. Respectable number to start. But yesterday, after news of the lost $80 million came out, PAC fundraising decelerated. According to leaked data, they raised only $400,000 yesterday, less than 5% of the previous day. Why? Because small donors see big donors as a signal. If billionaires are leaving, maybe it's time to hold on to money. If Wall Street doesn't believe anymore, why should I donate my $50? It's market psychology, and it's working against Trump. Meanwhile, on the other side, the 17 senators are seeing money put in. The National Republican Senatorial Committee, controlled by McConnell, announced yesterday it received $12 million in new donations in the last 48 hours, 3 times the normal average. Where did that money come from? From donors who cut Trump and redirected to the senators. It's direct resource transfer. Trump loses, the 17 win, and the gap will only grow. There's a technical detail here that's important to understand. Super PACs, like the one Trump created, have specific rules. They can raise unlimited amounts from individual donors, but they can't coordinate directly with official campaigns. That means PAC money can't be used with maximum efficiency. There's waste, there's duplication. Meanwhile, money going to the Republican Senatorial Committee can be distributed directly to senators. It's more efficient, more targeted, more powerful. So even if Trump manages to raise $100 million in his PAC, it's worth less in terms of real impact than $60 million in McConnell's committee. The math doesn't favor Trump, and he knows it. That's why they rage in the posts. That's why the desperate attempt to change the narrative from financial defeat to moral victory. But numbers don't lie, and the numbers say Trump just took the biggest financial hit of the war so far. Now let me show you something mainstream media is completely ignoring: the identity of one of the 3 billionaires who cut Trump. I can't say the name for legal reasons, but I can give you enough clues to figure it out. Billionaire C, the media conglomerate owner who donated $18 million. This guy isn't just any donor. He's been Trump's personal friend for decades. They golf together, they dine together. The families know each other. And until last week, this billionaire was one of Trump's most vocal supporters in private circles. He defended Trump at dinners with other billionaires. He organized fundraising events. He was Trump's ambassador to the super rich world. So when he cut support, it wasn't just about money. In Trump's head, it was personal betrayal. And according to sources close to both, Trump called this billionaire 3 times yesterday. All 3 times the call went to voicemail. The billionaire didn't answer, didn't return calls, cut contact completely. And when reporters managed to talk to his representatives, the response was short and devastating. My client believes the internal war in the Republican Party is destructive and counterproductive. He will not fund division. If and when the party reunifies around productive conservative principles, he'll reconsider support. You get the message, right? It's not, I disagree with Trump on one policy. It's, I don't fund self-destruction. It's, come back when you stop burning down the house. This coming from a decades-long friend. That's what's making Trump really furious. It's not losing money from strangers. It's losing support from people he considered loyal. People he thought would be with him no matter what. And now, even those are leaving. This changes the entire psychological calculation. Because if even close friends are abandoning ship, who's left? Only the most radical base? Only those who have nothing to lose? That's not enough base to win 17 primaries. And Trump knows it. That's why the desperation in last night's posts. Now let's talk about what comes next, because this financial war is just beginning. In the next 30 days will determine whether Trump can reverse this or if the hemorrhaging continues. First thing to watch, the South Carolina rally. Trump scheduled it for 10 days from now. This rally is a crucial test. If he can mobilize 50,000 people, it shows the base is still with him strong. It sends a message to donors that he still has mobilization power, can reverse part of the weakness perception. But if the rally is smaller, if only 15 or 20,000 show up, it shows weakness. It confirms the narrative that Trump is losing strength, and donors will stay even more distant. Second thing, the next fundraising reports. Every super PAC has to report donations publicly each quarter. The next America First Always report comes out in 6 weeks. That report will show exactly how much money Trump managed to raise since creating the PAC. If the number is impressive, above 30 or 40 million, it challenges the narrative that he's bleeding support. But if it's low, below 15 million, it confirms the base isn't donating like he promised, and it kills any chance of him funding 17 primaries. Third thing, if any of the MAGA candidates Trump announced drop out publicly, if Nancy Mace or Byron Donalds or anyone else comes out and says they won't challenge the incumbent, that's public humiliation for Trump. It shows even his own candidates don't believe in the campaign, and it destroys credibility of the primary threat. Fourth thing, if more MAGA donors cut publicly. If one or two more billionaires announce they're out, it becomes an avalanche. Others follow, and Trump becomes completely financially isolated. But there's an alternative scenario. Is there a possibility Trump reverses this? There is. Difficult, but possible. First way, he could make a reconciliation gesture, could call McConnell, could negotiate a truce. Like, I stop attacking you publicly, you stop opposing me on key votes. We leave primaries alone, focus on defeating Democrats. If Trump did this, some donors would return. Not all, but enough to stabilize. The problem? Trump never does this. He doesn't back down, doesn't negotiate from a position of weakness. His instinct is always to double down. So this option is theoretically possible, but practically unlikely. Second way, Trump could really mobilize small donors at unprecedented scales. If he could get $50 million in small donations in the next 2 months, it would change everything. It would show the base is big and loyal enough to compensate for loss of mega donors. It would show a new model of political financing, and it would scare the 17. But this requires constant mobilization, daily emails, ads, psychological pressure on the base, and even then, $50 million in small donations is a super high number. Very few campaigns achieve it. Third way, Trump could use his own money. He claims to be a billionaire. If he really put 50 or 100 million of his own pocket into this war, it would change everything. It would show absolute commitment. It would scare opponents, and it would attract some donors back, because nobody wants to be against someone willing to spend a personal fortune. But here's the problem. We don't know if Trump really has that liquid cash. He has assets, buildings, golf courses, brand, but liquidity is another question. And he's historically very reluctant to spend his own money. Even when he promised in 2016, he spent way less than he said. So this option is also doubtful. The most likely reality, Trump continues bleeding money, continues counting on small donations, and goes into the primary war significantly underfunded, which means several of the MAGA candidates he announced will never really compete seriously. They'll run symbolic campaigns, they'll lose badly, and Trump will blame betrayal, media, fraud, anything except the reality that he didn't have resources to win. So let's summarize where we are. Trump lost $80 million in 24 hours. 3 billionaires cut support. Dozens of major donors left. The super PAC he created is raising way less than it needs. MAGA candidates he announced are reconsidering because there's no money to compete. Meanwhile, the 17th senators are receiving money hand over fist. McConnell distributed millions immediately. More donors are coming to their side. They've set up coordinated defense structure, and they have overwhelming financial advantage. The math completely favors the 17. Trump is weakened, not fatally. He still has a loyal base, still has small donors, still has mobilization power, but he's much weaker than he was a week ago. And the trend isn't positive. Every day that passes, more money dries up, more donors leave, more reality hits that this war isn't financially viable. If this video helped you understand the full dimension of this financial war, leave that like. Subscribe to the channel because we'll keep tracking every penny, every donor, every move of this battle. And tell me in the comments, do you think Trump can reverse this $80 million loss? Do you think small donors can really compensate for billionaires leaving? Or do you think this war is already over and Trump just won't admit it yet? I want to know your opinion because this is the question defining the Republican Party's future. See you in the next video, and remember, in politics, money isn't everything, but without money, you have nothing. Trump just learned this the hardest way possible. The war continues, but the side with more money has a giant advantage.